Lee Dongmin stood in the center of the massive alien ship. The room was bigger than any building he had ever seen on Earth. Strange lights floated in the air around him. The walls seemed to be made of living crystal that pulsed with soft blue light. He could hear his own heart beating in the silence. 3 alien beings sat on platforms high above him. They looked down at him like he was a small bug. The first alien looked like a giant fish with arms and legs. Water flowed around its body in impossible ways. Its eyes were black and cold. The second alien was made of living crystal, just like the walls. Light moved through its body like lightning. The third alien had no solid form at all. It was just a cloud of glowing gas that changed colors as it moved. Human, the crystal alien spoke. Its voice sounded like breaking glass. We are the Galactic Council. We rule over 47 worlds. Today we add Earth to that number. Lee Dongmin kept his face calm. He had trained for this moment his whole life. Behind his calm face, his mind was working fast. He studied every detail of the room, every alien, every piece of technology he could see. The fish-like alien moved forward. Water followed it like a living thing. Your species is young and foolish. You play with fire and call it progress. You fight wars over small pieces of land. You poison your own world and call it industry. But we are generous, the gas cloud alien said. Its voice was like wind through leaves. We offer you a choice. Surrender your world to our rule. Accept our guidance. Live in peace under our protection. Lee Dongmin smiled. It was a small smile, but the aliens noticed it. They had expected fear. They had expected begging. They had seen 47 other species do exactly that. But this human was smiling. And if we refuse? Lee Dongmin asked. The crystal alien's light grew brighter. Then your world burns. Your cities turn to ash. Your people die. It is that simple. How long do we have to decide? 72 hours, the fish alien said. 3 of your Earth days. That should be enough time for your leaders to see reason. Lee Dongmin nodded slowly. I will take your message to my people. The aliens expected him to look worried. They expected him to ask for more time. They expected him to try to negotiate. Instead, he just stood there with that same small smile. You may go, the gas cloud alien said. Lee Dongmin bowed slightly. Thank you for your generosity. The way he said the word made it sound like something else entirely. Far away on Earth, Captain Park Jin-woo stood on the bridge of the Soul's Pride. It was humanity's newest and most advanced ship. At least that's what everyone was supposed to think. The truth was much more interesting. Captain, his communications officer called out. We're receiving a transmission from Ambassador Lee. Put it on screen. Lee Dongmin's face appeared on the main display. Behind him, the alien ship's strange crystal walls were visible. Captain Park, please record this message for immediate transmission to Earth Command. Park Jin-woo watched as his old friend delivered the alien's ultimatum. Lee Dongmin spoke in a calm, professional voice. But Park Jin-woo had known him for 20 years. He could see something else in his friend's eyes. Not fear, not worry. Something that looked almost like excitement. When the transmission ended, Park Jin-woo turned to his crew. You heard the man. Send that message to Earth Command with highest priority. Yes, sir, his communications officer replied. Then more quietly, Sir, what do you think they'll decide? Park Jin-woo looked out at the stars through the main window. I think the aliens just made a very big mistake. On Earth, Dr. Kim Sora sat in her laboratory deep under the Pacific Ocean. Most people didn't know this place existed. The official records said she worked at Seoul National University. That was true, but it wasn't the whole truth. Her computer screens showed detailed analysis of alien biology. She had been studying these creatures for years. Every piece of data humanity had ever gathered about the Galactic Council was stored in this room. Interesting, she said to herself. She had just finished analyzing the latest scans from Lee Dongmin's diplomatic mission. Hidden sensors in his clothes had recorded everything. The aliens were exactly what she expected. Powerful, advanced, confident, but also predictable. They followed patterns. They had rules. They thought in straight lines. Humans did not think in straight lines. Commander Choi Min-ho walked into her lab. He was a big man with scars on his hands from years of military service. Doctor, have you seen the ultimatum? I've seen it, she replied without looking up from her screens. Have you run the war games? 50 times. Different scenarios each time. He sat down heavily in a chair. They have us outgunned by a factor of 10,000 to 1. Dr. Kim Sora finally looked at him. She was smiling the same small smile that Lee Dongmin had worn. Commander, you're thinking like them, linear, predictable. What if we don't play by their rules? What do you mean? What if this isn't about guns and ships? What if it's about something else entirely? Before Commander Choi Min-ho could answer, alarms began ringing throughout the facility. Emergency lights bathed everything in red. Over the intercom, a voice announced, "All personnel to emergency stations. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." Dr. Kim Sora stood up and grabbed her emergency kit. "It begins," she said. In the government building in Seoul, Prime Minister Yoon Hae-jin sat at the head of a long table. Around him sat the most powerful people on Earth. Military leaders, scientists, diplomats, business leaders. They had all seen the aliens' message, so, the Prime Minister said quietly, they want us to surrender. General Nam Ki-young, the head of Earth's military forces, spoke first. We can't fight them. Not directly. Their technology is too advanced. What about evacuating the population? Asked Dr. Shin Yuri, the quantum physicist. We could move people off-world. To where? Replied Admiral Jo Young-min. They control the galaxy. There's nowhere to run. Prime Minister Yoon Hae-jin listened to them argue. He had expected this. Fear was natural. But as he looked around the table, he saw something else in their eyes too. The same thing he had seen in Lee Dong-min's transmission. There is another option, he said quietly. The room fell silent. We fight, he continued. Not the way they expect. Not the way anyone expects. Sir, General Nam Ki-young said carefully. With respect, they'll destroy us. Prime Minister Yoon Hae-jin smiled. It was a cold smile. The kind of smile that had made humans the most dangerous predators on Earth. General, they've conquered 47 worlds. Do you know what all those worlds had in common? Sir, they all wanted to live more than they wanted to be free. The Prime Minister stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Seoul stretched as far as the eye could see. Millions of people going about their lives, not knowing that aliens had just demanded their surrender. Humanity has never been good at surrender, he said. I don't think we should start now. He turned back to face the room. Send word to all our people, military, civilian, everyone. In 72 hours, the galaxy is going to learn something new about humans. What's that, sir? Dr. Shin Yuri asked. The Prime Minister's smile grew wider. That we don't just fight to win. We fight because we like fighting. Outside, the first stars were becoming visible in the evening sky. Soon alien ships would fill that sky. The Galactic Council was counting on humanity's fear. They were going to be very disappointed. Admiral Nam Ki-young stood in a room that officially did not exist. The elevator that brought him here had no buttons for this floor. The maps of the building showed solid rock where this room actually was. Even his own security clearance had been upgraded just an hour ago. Project Silent Thunder is ready, Admiral, said Lieutenant Bae Soo-jin. She was young, maybe 25, but her eyes held the confidence of someone who had been preparing for war her entire life. The room around them hummed with activity. Hundreds of screens showed star maps, energy readings, and weapon systems that shouldn't have existed, at least not according to what the rest of the world knew about human technology. How many facilities do we have online? Admiral Nam Ki-young asked. All of them, sir, replied Sergeant Oh Tae-hyun from his station. Mars Base 7, Europa Station, the asteroid belt platforms, even the deep space monitors past Pluto. Everything we've built in secret for the last 30 years is ready. Admiral Nam Ki-young nodded. 30 years. That's how long humanity had been preparing for this day, ever since the first alien scout ship had crashed in the desert. Everyone thought it was a weather balloon. The government had been happy to let them think that. What about the weapon systems? Lieutenant Bae Soo-jin smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. The aliens are going to get a very big surprise, sir. 3 levels down, Engineer Lim Jun-seo was making final adjustments to humanity's most secret project. The room was filled with technology that looked nothing like anything else on Earth. It was sleek, smooth, and seemed to bend light around itself in impossible ways. Status report, he called out to his team. Gravity. Manipulation systems are online, replied one technician. Quantum tunnel drives are ready, said another. Energy shields are at full power, added a third. Engineer Lim Jun-seo looked at the alien technology that filled the room. Humanity had been reverse engineering it for decades. But they hadn't just copied it. They had improved it. Made it better. Made it human. The aliens thought their technology was perfect. They thought their way was the only way. That was their first mistake. His communicator buzzed. "Lim, this is Dr. Shin Yuri. Are you ready for the physics briefing?" "On my way," he replied. Dr. Shin Yuri stood in front of a room full of Earth's best scientists and engineers. On the screen behind her were equations that would have made Einstein weep with joy. Or terror. Maybe both. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "today you're going to learn why the aliens' technology isn't as advanced as they think it is." She pointed to a diagram on the screen. The Galactic Council uses what they call brute force technology. Bigger engines, more power, stronger shields. It's impressive, but it's also predictable. The screen changed to show human technology. It looked smaller, simpler, but the numbers beneath it told a different story. "We use quantum tunneling. We don't fight physics, we ask it nicely to step aside. While their ships push through space like freight trains, ours slip between the spaces where reality gets fuzzy." Engineer Lim Jun Seo raised his hand. "What about their weapons?" "Their weapons are designed to destroy things they can detect," Dr. Shin Yuri replied. "What happens when they can't detect us?" The room was quiet for a moment. Then someone started laughing. Then everyone was laughing. It wasn't happy laughter. It was the laughter of people who had just realized they were holding a royal flush in a poker game. "The aliens have been playing chess," Dr. Shin Yuri continued. "We're about to teach them how to play poker." Meanwhile, in the diplomatic quarter of Geneva, Ambassador Kang Hyo-jin sat at his desk writing humanity's response to the Galactic Council. The message was short, simple, and absolutely terrifying if you knew how to read between the lines. "To the Galactic Council," he wrote, "we have received your ultimatum. We have considered your generous offer. We respectfully decline." He paused, thinking about the next words carefully. "However, we would like to extend a counteroffer. You have 72 hours to withdraw your fleet from our solar system. Failure to do so will be considered an act of war." He read the message again. It sounded polite, diplomatic, professional. It was also the most dangerous thing any species had ever said to the Galactic Council. Furthermore, he continued typing, "We wish to inform you that humanity does not negotiate with threats. We do, however, accept surrenders." Ambassador Kang Hyo-jin saved the message and prepared to send it. In 6 hours, the aliens would receive it. He wondered what their faces would look like when they read it. Probably a lot like the faces of the 47 other species they had conquered. Right before those species realized they had made a terrible mistake. In a hidden facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Captain Song Min-kyung ran final checks on her ship. It was called the Invisible Dragon, though no records of its existence could be found in any database. As far as the world knew, Captain Song Min-kyung was a cargo pilot who flew supplies to Mars. She was actually the commander of humanity's first true stealth fleet. "All systems green," reported her tactical officer. "John Woo-jin, quantum cloak is stable. Gravity dampeners are online. We're completely invisible to their sensors. How many ships do we have ready?" Captain Song Min-kyung asked. 57 stealth fighters, 12 stealth cruisers, and the Invisible Dragon." Captain Song Min-kyung smiled. 70 ships against their thousands. "I like those odds." John Woo-jin looked confused. "Captain, shouldn't we want better odds?" "Where's the fun in that?" she replied. Her communications officer, Park Ye-jin, spoke up from her station. "Captain, I'm receiving a message from Earth Command. Operation Silent Thunder is a go." "Understood. Take us to the edge of the solar system. Let's go say hello to our new friends." The Invisible Dragon began to move. It made no sound. Created no energy signature. Left no trail. To any alien sensors, there was nothing there but empty space. Behind them, 69 other ships followed. Each one invisible. Each one crewed by humans who had trained their entire lives for this moment. In his medical bay aboard the Soul's Pride, Chief Medical Officer Kwon Sung-ho prepared for casualties. He hoped there wouldn't be many, but he had studied human history. When humans went to war, people got hurt. Doctor called his assistant, a young nurse named Kim Boram. "Why do you think the aliens gave us 72 hours? "Psychological warfare," he replied while checking his equipment. "They want us to spend 3 days being afraid. 3 days imagining what they'll do to us. 3 days breaking down mentally before they even fire a shot." "Is it working?" Chief Medical Officer Kwan Sung-ho looked around his medical bay. His staff was calm, professional, ready. Through the window, he could see crew members going about their duties. No panic, no fear. If anything, they seemed eager. "No," he said. "I don't think it's working at all." On Earth, people were beginning to learn about the ultimatum. The government had decided not to hide it. There was no point. In 72 hours, everyone would know anyway. The reaction was not what the aliens expected. In Seoul, citizens gathered in the streets. But they weren't running or screaming. They were singing. Old songs about freedom and resistance, songs their grandparents had sung during harder times. In New York, people filled Times Square. Signs appeared reading "Earth stands" and "Try us" and "No surrender." In London, Parliament held an emergency session. It lasted exactly 5 minutes. The vote was unanimous. No surrender. In Tokyo, schoolchildren wrote letters to the aliens. The letters were not polite. Around the world, the response was the same. Humanity had been given a choice between freedom and survival. They chose freedom. They chose it loudly, proudly, and without hesitation. Back in the secret facility, Admiral Nam Ki-young watched reports come in from around the globe. His staff was amazed by what they were seeing. "Sir," Lieutenant Bae Soo-jin said, "the population is actually getting more unified. The aliens' ultimatum is bringing people together, not dividing them." "Of course it is," Admiral Nam Ki-young replied. "The aliens studied our history. They saw our wars, our conflicts, our divisions. They thought that made us weak, didn't it?" "No, Lieutenant. It made us practice." He turned to address the entire room. "People, in 60 hours, the alien fleet will arrive. They expect to find a broken species begging for mercy. Instead, they're going to find something that hasn't existed in this galaxy for a very long time." "What's that, sir?" asked Sergeant Oh Tae-hyun. Admiral Nam Ki-young smiled. It was the same cold smile that was spreading across Earth like wildfire. The same smile that was about to teach the galaxy a very important lesson about humanity. "A fair fight," he said. The Galactic Council's fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system exactly on schedule. 1,000 ships, each one larger than any city on Earth. They moved in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with the arrogance of 47 previous victories. Admiral Korthek, the fish-like Valari who commanded the fleet, stood on his bridge and studied the primitive solar system before him. His sensors showed him exactly what he expected. A few small defensive ships clustered around the third planet. Pathetic. Barely worth the energy it would take to destroy them. "Begin the final scan," he ordered his crew. "I want to know the location of every human ship before we start." The scan began. Energy waves swept across the solar system, searching for any trace of human technology. The results appeared on his screens moments later. 12 ships. All clustered near Earth, no hidden fleets. No secret weapons. No surprises. Admiral Korthek allowed himself to feel satisfied. The humans had made the same mistake as every other species. They had tried to fight conventionally. It would be over quickly. "Send the final ultimatum," he commanded. "Surrender now or watch your world burn." What Admiral Korthek didn't know was that his perfect sensors had just missed 70 human ships that were floating, less than a kilometer away from his own fleet. Captain Song Min-kyung watched the alien fleet through her ship's quantum-distorted windows. The alien ships were beautiful, she had to admit. Sleek and powerful and completely unaware that they were surrounded. "Tactical," she said quietly to Jeon Woo-jin. "Do you have targeting solutions?" "Every ship, Captain. Their shields are down. They're not even trying to defend themselves." "Why would they?" replied pilot An So-young from her console. "According to their sensors, we don't exist." Captain Song Min-kyung activated her communication system. Across the hidden fleet, 70 captains waited for her signal. "All ships, this is Dragon 1. Remember, we hit hard, we hit fast, and we disappear." "The aliens think they're hunting sheep. Let's show them they're wrong." On the bridge of Admiral Korthek's flagship, Alarm suddenly began screaming. His tactical officer, a crystalline Nexari, spun toward him with lights flashing in panic. "Admiral, we're detecting massive energy signatures. Ships are appearing all around us." "Impossible," Admiral Korthek snarled. "Our sensors showed empty space. Sir, the humans appear to have stealth technology beyond our calculations." Before Admiral Korthek could respond, the first human weapons fired. But these weren't the primitive missiles and energy beams he expected. These were gravity weapons that twisted space itself. quantum disruptors that made matter forget how to exist, and kinetic weapons that moved so fast they seemed to teleport. The human ship Invisible Dragon suddenly appeared directly above his flagship, close enough that he could see the pilots through the windows. A young woman was flying it, and she was smiling. "Return fire," he screamed. His weapons officer, a gas-form Threnody, pulsed with confusion. "Sir, they're moving in patterns our computers cannot predict. They're using gravitational fields from asteroids to change direction. They're using our own ships as cover." On the bridge of the Soul's Pride, Communications Officer Park Ye-jin was having the time of her life. She had just received permission to engage in psychological warfare, and she knew exactly what to do. "Attention, alien fleet," she broadcast on all frequencies. "You wanted to hear from Earth? Here's a message from humanity." She pressed a button, and suddenly every speaker on every alien ship began blasting the heaviest, loudest, most aggressive human music ever created. Heavy metal, punk rock, death metal, and sounds that most species would consider torture. The effect on the alien crews was immediate. The Volari, who communicated through subtle water movements, found their entire communication system disrupted. The crystalline Nexari, who thought in harmonic frequencies, discovered that human music was literally painful to their crystalline bodies. The Threnody, who existed as organized gas clouds, began to lose cohesion as the chaotic sound waves interfered with their molecular structure. "Turn it off," Admiral Korthik screamed, but his own crew couldn't hear him over the noise. Meanwhile, the human ships continued their impossible attack patterns. Pilot An So-young led a squadron of fighters that used the gravitational pull of Jupiter to slingshot around the planet at speeds that should have torn their ships apart. Instead, they emerged behind the alien fleet's main formation and began picking off support vessels. "How are they surviving those acceleration forces?" Admiral Korthik's science officer managed to shout over the music. Admiral Korthik didn't know the answer. What he couldn't understand was that humans had evolved on a world where survival meant adapting to impossible conditions. Their pilots didn't just fly ships. They became one with them. They made decisions not through careful calculation, but through instinct honed by millions of years of hunting. The aliens fought like computers. Humans fought like predators. On Earth, Chief Medical Officer Kwon Seung-ho monitored the battle through live feeds. He was amazed by what he was seeing. The few human casualties were pilots who were laughing as they reported their injuries. "Dragon 7 here," came a voice over the radio. "Took some damage to my port wing, but I'm still flying." "And Doc, you should see the look on the aliens' faces." Dragon 12 reporting. "My ship's on fire, but their ship's in pieces. Fair trade." Dragon 3 to Medical. "I'm going to need a new coffee cup." The last one exploded from the G-forces, but their whole squadron just surrendered. Kwon Seung-ho shook his head in amazement. Only humans would treat a space battle like an extreme sport. The battle was not going according to any plan the Galactic Council had ever seen. Their ships were designed for overwhelming firepower against stationary targets, but the humans refused to stay still. They moved like they were dancing, turning the battle into a three-dimensional ballet of violence. Admiral Korthik watched as his carefully organized formation fell apart. His ships, built for intimidation and direct assault, found themselves trying to fight an enemy that attacked from 6 directions at once, used their own asteroids as weapons, and seemed to actually enjoy being shot at. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we've lost 30% of our fleet, but the humans have only lost 6 ships. How many ships do they have?" "We count 70, sir. But they keep disappearing and reappearing. Our targeting computers cannot lock onto them." Admiral Korthik stared at the tactical display. 70 ships against 1,000, and the humans were winning. It was impossible. It was insane. It was exactly the kind of thing humans would do. "Pull back," he ordered. "Reform at maximum range." But the humans didn't let him. As his fleet tried to retreat, the human ships pursued them. Not to destroy them, but to herd them. Like wolves hunting deer, the humans pushed the alien fleet exactly where they wanted them. Captain Song Min-kyung smiled as she watched the alien fleet fall into the trap. "All ships execute Operation Asteroid Field." Suddenly, what the aliens had thought was empty space around them began to reveal itself as a carefully constructed minefield. Thousands of asteroids that had been moved into position over the past decades, each one equipped with human technology, each one now activated. The asteroids began to move. Not randomly, but in coordination. Like a living thing, the asteroid field began to close around the alien fleet. Impossible, Admiral Korthek shouted. They've turned the entire asteroid belt into a weapon. On Earth, engineer Lim Junseo watched his decades of work come to fruition. Gravity manipulation is stable, he reported. The asteroids are responding perfectly. What Admiral Korthek was witnessing was something no alien species had ever imagined. Humans didn't just use weapons, they turned their entire environment into a weapon. The asteroid belt, which the aliens had dismissed as space debris, was actually a massive trap that had been 30 years in the making. Sir, the alien tactical officer reported with growing panic. The asteroids are launching projectiles, kinetic weapons at relativistic speeds. We cannot intercept them all. Admiral Korthek watched as chunks of rock moving at nearly the speed of light began tearing through his fleet. Ships that had taken decades to build were being destroyed by rocks. Rocks thrown by a species that had only discovered spaceflight a century ago. This is Admiral Korthek to all ships, he transmitted. Retreat! Full retreat. But Communications Officer Park Ye-jin intercepted his transmission and replaced it with something else entirely. Instead of retreat orders, the alien fleet received a message in perfect galactic standard. Surrender now, and you will be treated according to the Human Geneva Conventions. Continue fighting and learn why humans are the only species that developed rules for warfare. Some of the alien ships, confused by the competing orders and terrified by the impossible human tactics, actually began to surrender. They powered down their weapons and transmitted surrender codes. Admiral Korthek watched in horror as his perfect fleet, the pride of the Galactic Council, fell apart around him. In less than 2 hours, the humans had done something that no species in galactic history had ever accomplished. They had turned a hopeless battle into a victory. Sir, his science officer said quietly. Perhaps we should consider negotiation. Admiral Korthek looked at the tactical display. Half his fleet was gone. The other half was scattered, confused, being systematically. General Im Dai-ho sat in a room that very few people knew existed. The walls were covered with files, documents, and photographs from 47 different worlds. Each folder represented a fallen civilization. Each photograph showed the moment when another species had decided that survival was more important than freedom. Show me the Kepler prime files, he said to his assistant. The holographic display showed a beautiful world with crystal cities and peaceful inhabitants. The Nexari had given them the same ultimatum they had given Earth: surrender or die. How long did they resist? General Im Dae-ho asked. 6 hours, his assistant replied. They calculated the odds, realized they couldn't win, and surrendered immediately. And the Vegan colony? 3 hours. They didn't even try to fight. General Im Dae-ho nodded. He had studied every single conquest the Galactic Council had ever made. The pattern was always the same. The aliens would arrive with overwhelming force. They would demand surrender. The target species would look at the numbers, realize resistance was hopeless, and give up. 47 civilizations had made the logical choice. 47 civilizations had chosen to live as slaves rather than die as free beings. Sir, his assistant said quietly, the psychological profiles are ready. The hologram changed to show brain scans and behavioral analysis. Every species that surrendered showed the same pattern. When faced with extinction, they prioritized individual survival over group identity. The fear of death overrode everything else. General Im Dae-ho smiled. And humans? Humans are different, sir. When faced with extinction, we become more unified, more dangerous. The threat doesn't break us apart, it welds us together. Exactly. The aliens made their biggest mistake when they gave us an ultimatum. They thought it would divide us. Instead, it reminded us who we are. In another part of the same facility, Intelligence Director Hong Min-jun was experiencing the greatest moment of his career. For 20 years, he had been infiltrating alien computer systems. The Council thought their networks were secure. They were wrong. Talk to me, Specialist Ryu, he said to the young woman at the computer terminal. Tech Specialist Ryu Ah-jin looked up from her screens. Her fingers were flying across multiple keyboards simultaneously. Sir, we're inside everything. Their communications, their tactical networks, even their personal files. The aliens have no idea we've been watching them for decades. What have you learned? Their entire strategy is based on psychological warfare. They don't want to fight battles, sir. They want to win without fighting. Every ship in their fleet is designed for intimidation, not actual combat. Intelligence Director Hong Min-jun leaned forward. Explain. Look at their weapons, sir. They're powerful, yes, but they're designed to destroy planets, not fight other ships. They've never had to fight a real space battle because everyone always surrendered first. Tech specialist Ryu Ajin pulled up another screen. But here's the really interesting part. I've been monitoring their communications during the current battle. Sir, they're panicking. Their commanders have no idea how to fight an enemy that refuses to follow their script. Show me. The speakers filled with alien voices, translated by human computers. The conversations were not what anyone would expect from a superior military force. How do we target ships that aren't there? Why do the humans keep attacking when they're obviously going to lose? Our psychological warfare is completely ineffective. They're actually enjoying this. Request immediate reinforcements. The humans are not behaving according to any known pattern. Intelligence Director Hong Min-jun laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. They've conquered 47 worlds and they've never fought a single real battle. No wonder they don't know what to do with us. Meanwhile, psychologist Dr. Moon Chan-woo was presenting his findings to a room full of military leaders. His research had taken years, but the results were clear. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, I want to talk to you about what makes humans different from every other species in the galaxy. The screen behind him showed comparative brain scans. Every other species the Council conquered showed the same reaction to extreme threat. The individual survival instinct overrode everything else. Fight or flight. When they couldn't fight, they fled. When they couldn't flee, they surrendered. But humans? Humans have a third option. We have something called stress bonding. When we're threatened as a group, we don't scatter. We come together. We become stronger, not weaker. One of the generals raised his hand. What does that mean in practical terms? It means the aliens' ultimatum had the opposite effect they intended. Instead of making us afraid, it made us angry. Instead of dividing us, it unified us. They tried to break our spirit and accidentally forged it into steel. Dr. Moon Chan-woo changed the display to show human behavior patterns during the current crisis. Look at these numbers. Crime rates are down 90%. Productivity is up 300%. Political approval ratings are the highest in recorded history. The aliens didn't just threaten Earth, they gave humanity a common enemy. And that's significant because humans evolved as pack hunters. We're literally designed by evolution to work together against threats. The bigger the threat, the better we cooperate. The aliens thought they were dealing with individuals. They're actually fighting a unified species of 4 billion predators. Fleet Commander Seo Hwan-ki was coordinating the largest military operation in human history. But unlike the aliens, he wasn't trying to control everything from a central location. Human military doctrine was different. Captain Cho Yun-seo status report, he said into his communicator. Sir, we've captured 3 council supply ships. Their crews are confused. They keep asking when we're going to execute them. Execute them? Apparently that's what the council does to prisoners. They don't understand the concept of prisoner rights or Geneva Conventions. Fleet Commander Seo Hwan-ki shook his head. Treat them well, Captain. Show them what civilized warfare looks like. Yes, sir. Sir, they're also confused about our command structure. They can't understand how we coordinate without a single controlling authority. That's because they don't understand humans, Captain. We don't follow orders because we're afraid. We follow them because we choose to. On the other side of the battle, Marine Colonel Yang In-woo was learning something interesting about alien ship design. His boarding teams had captured 5 enemy vessels, and what they found was revealing. Colonel, reported Sergeant Kim Do-hyun over the radio, these ships aren't designed for boarding actions at all. No internal defenses, no security protocols, no Marines. It's like they never expected anyone to actually fight them inside their own ships. Any resistance? Sir, the aliens seem more confused than hostile. They keep asking us why we're not afraid of them. One of them actually asked if we understand that they're supposed to be the scary ones. Colonel Yang In-woo laughed. Tell them we got the memo. We just don't care. What the aliens couldn't understand was that humans had spent their entire evolutionary history fighting things bigger and stronger than themselves. Mammoths, saber-toothed tigers, ice ages, other humans. Being outgunned was just Tuesday for humanity. Back on Earth, engineer Kim Bo-ram was putting the finishing touches on humanity's ultimate weapon. It wasn't a ship or a bomb. It was much more elegant than that. Magnetic field manipulation is online, she reported to her team. Planetary railgun is ready for activation. Ma'am, asked one of her technicians, remind me how this works? Simple, engineer Kim Bo-ram replied. We turn Earth itself into a weapon. The planet's magnetic field becomes a giant railgun. We can launch projectiles at relativistic speeds with pinpoint accuracy. And the projectiles? Whatever we want, asteroids, nuclear warheads, or just solid chunks of iron moving at 90% the speed of light. At those velocities, it doesn't really matter what we hit them with. The technician looked impressed. How did you come up with this idea? Engineer Kim Boram shrugged. The aliens think in terms of ships and weapons. We think in terms of using everything around us. They brought a fleet to fight us. We brought a planet. Above them, in the orbital command center, Admiral Joe Young-min was watching the alien fleet's retreat with satisfaction. But he wasn't done yet. All ships, this is Admiral Joe. Begin pursuit operations. Don't let them regroup. Sir, his tactical officer asked, shouldn't we let them withdraw? We've won. Admiral Joe Young-min looked at him with surprise. Lieutenant, do you know what happens when you wound a dangerous animal and then let it escape? Sir? It comes back angrier and more prepared. The aliens came here to destroy humanity. The only appropriate response is to make sure they never get the chance to try again. The pursuit began. Human ships, no longer hiding, began chasing the retreating alien fleet. But this wasn't random harassment. It was carefully coordinated hunting. Captain Song Min Kyung led her stealth squadron in wide flanking maneuvers. Captain Park Jae-min coordinated with asteroid belt defenses to cut off escape routes. And Engineer Kim Boram prepared to demonstrate what happened when you threatened a species that had turned their entire solar system into a fortress. Firing solution locked, she reported. Earth railgun ready. What's our target? Their flagship, ma'am. The one with the fish-faced admiral who thought he could intimidate humans. Fire. President Lee Soo-jin stood in the Oval Office, looking out at a world that had changed forever in just 72 hours. The alien fleet was retreating, but that was just the beginning. She activated her communication system and sent a message that would reach every corner of the galaxy. To the Galactic Council, she began, her voice calm but carrying the weight of 4 billion humans behind it. This is President Lee Soo-jin of Earth. You came to our world demanding surrender. You threatened our families, our children, our way of life. You expected us to bow down like the 47 species before us. She paused, letting the words sink in across the vastness of space. You were wrong. On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Korthek listened to the human president's words with growing dread. Around him, his crew worked frantically to repair battle damage and coordinate their retreat. But retreat to where? The humans had demonstrated they could reach anywhere in the solar system with weapons that moved faster than his ships. You misunderstood something fundamental about humanity, President Lee Soo-jin continued. You studied our history and saw wars, conflicts, division. You thought that made us weak. What you didn't understand is that all of that was practice. Admiral Korthek's tactical officer, still glowing with panic, spoke up. Sir, we're detecting massive energy signatures throughout human space. They're powering up weapons systems we didn't know existed. Impossible. Our intelligence reports showed primitive technology. Sir, I think their intelligence reports on us were better than ours on them. President Lee Soo-jin's voice continued across the void. For 70,000 years, humans have been perfecting the art of warfare. We fought with sticks and stones, then bronze and iron, then gunpowder and steel, then nuclear fire and guided missiles. We have never, in our entire history, backed down from a fight. Admiral Joe Young-min stood on the bridge of his command ship, watching the alien retreat with professional satisfaction. But unlike his opponent, he wasn't planning to let them escape to regroup. Captain No Ji-hoon, he said into his communicator, are your pursuit squadrons in position? Yes, sir. We have them surrounded. They don't know it yet, but they're flying into a trap. Good, remember, we want survivors. Dead aliens can't deliver our message to the rest of the galaxy. Captain No Ji-hoon smiled. It was the same cold smile that was becoming humanity's signature expression. Understood, sir. We'll leave just enough of them alive to spread the word. The alien fleet, thinking they were retreating to safety, suddenly found themselves surrounded by human ships that appeared out of empty space. The humans had been herding them, like wolves driving prey toward waiting hunters. This is impossible, Admiral Korthek shouted. How many ships do they have? His science officer checked the readings again. Sir, according to our sensors, they have over 300 vessels. But that can't be right. Our intelligence said they only had a few dozen ships total. Our intelligence was wrong about everything, Admiral Korthek said bitterly. What the aliens didn't know was that they were seeing 30 years of secret human ship construction. Every cargo vessel that had been flying between Earth and Mars, every research station that had been built in the asteroid belt, every communications satellite that had been launched into deep space, all of them had been military assets in disguise. Ambassador Shin Kyung-mo appeared on the alien fleet's communication screens. He sat calmly at a desk, looking more like a professor than a military commander. But his words carried the authority of an entire species. Admiral Korthek, I am Ambassador Shin Kyung-mo, speaking for the human race. You have a choice to make. Admiral Korthek found his voice. What choice? You can surrender your fleet to human authority and submit to interrogation under the Geneva Conventions. Your crews will be treated humanely. Your wounded will receive medical care, and you will eventually be returned to your own space. And if we refuse? Ambassador Shin Kyung-mo's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. Then you will learn what humans mean when we say total war. We will hunt down every ship in your fleet. We will track you to whatever world you came from, and we will teach the entire Galactic Council a lesson that will echo through history. Dr. Yun Hye-won, humanity's leading expert on alien psychology, stepped into view beside the ambassador. Admiral, you should know that we have studied your species extensively. We know that the Galactic Council rules through fear and intimidation. You have never faced an enemy that wasn't afraid of you. She smiled, and it was not a kind smile. We are not afraid of you. We never were. The 72 hours you gave us to surrender? We spent them getting ready for war. While you were expecting us to break down and beg for mercy, we were positioning weapons and preparing for the fight of our lives. But why? Admiral Korthek asked. Why resist when surrender means survival? Dr. Yun Hye-won tilted her head as if she genuinely didn't understand the question. Admiral, you've conquered 47 species. How many of them chose to resist? None. They all surrendered immediately when they understood the futility of resistance. Exactly. And what happened to those species? They became part of the Council. They were given roles in our society, as slaves, as subjects. Dr. Yun Hye-won nodded. You see, that's where you made your mistake. You assumed we would rather live as slaves than die as free beings. You were wrong. Strategic Advisor Bae Jin-young appeared on another screen, flanked by holographic displays showing the current tactical situation. Admiral, let me explain your position. You are currently surrounded by superior human forces. Your escape routes are blocked. Your supply lines are cut. Your communications with the Council are being jammed. Jammed. Impossible. Our quantum communication systems cannot be jammed by primitive technology. We've had quantum communication for 50 years. Strategic Advisor Bae Jin-young replied casually. We just let you think we were primitive. It made our intelligence gathering much easier. The displays behind her showed detailed schematics of every alien ship in the fleet, technical specifications, weapon systems, shield frequencies, even the personal files of the alien commanders. We know everything about you, she continued. Ship designs, military doctrine, political structure, even your personal fears and psychological profiles. We have been studying the Galactic Council for decades, preparing for this day. Admiral Korthek stared at the screens in horror. You've been spying on us for decades? Admiral, Strategic Advisor Bae Jin-young said gently. We've been preparing for you since the day we first discovered we weren't alone in the universe. The first crashed alien scout ship wasn't an accident we stumbled upon. We shot it down, reverse-engineered its technology, and began planning for the day when the rest of you would come. Captain Park Jaemin's voice came over the communication channel. Admiral, this is Captain Park of the human vessel Destiny's Edge. I'm transmitting our final offer to you now. A document appeared on Admiral Korthek's screens. It was written in perfect galactic standard and formatted according to proper diplomatic protocols, but the content was unlike anything any alien had ever seen. Terms of surrender for the Galactic Council fleet, Admiral Korthek read aloud. By the authority of Earth and all human colonies. His voice trailed off as he read the terms. They weren't being asked to surrender. They were being asked to submit to human authority. Forever. You want us to become your subjects? He asked. Fleet Admiral Choi Sang-hyun appeared on the main screen. He was an older man with gray hair and patient eyes, but when he spoke, there was no doubt about who was in control. Admiral, let me explain something about human nature. When someone threatens us, we don't just defend ourselves. We remove the threat permanently. You came here to conquer us. Now we're going to conquer you, but we have thousands of ships. Hundreds of worlds. We are the Galactic Council. And in 6 months, you'll be the former Galactic Council. Fleet Admiral Choi Sang-hyun replied. Admiral, look at your tactical display. How many ships have you lost in the past 4 hours? Admiral Korthik looked. The numbers were devastating. 60% of my fleet is gone. And how many ships have we lost? 12. Admiral, we destroyed 60% of your fleet with 70 ships. We have 300 more ships in this system alone. We have weapons platforms throughout human space. We have turned our entire solar system into a fortress, and this is just the beginning. What do you mean? Captain Park Jamin's voice came back online. Sir, I'm happy to report that human expeditionary forces are already en route to Council space. We should reach your homeworlds in approximately 6 weeks. Admiral Korthek felt something he had never experienced before. Complete and total defeat. Not just military defeat, but the crushing realization that his entire civilization had made a catastrophic error. How? He whispered. President Lee Soo-jin's voice returned, and this time it carried a note of something that might have been pity. Admiral, you made the same mistake that every bully makes. You assumed that because we were smaller, we were weaker. You thought that because we hadn't conquered anyone, we couldn't conquer anyone. But mostly, she continued, you made the mistake of threatening our children. There is nothing in this galaxy more dangerous than a human whose family is threatened. Ambassador Shin Kyung-mo reappeared on the screen.